Hi, True Avatars, and welcome to your weekly queer video game podcast. This is episode 69, and I am your host, Zoe Wild. I'm a transgender and bisexual woman, and my pronouns are she, her. So, this week, it's just me. I'm kind of doing a similar episode to I did a couple weeks ago for episode 67. It's just gonna be me talking about what I've been playing and the news, and again, what I've been playing has not been a whole lot. I've been very busy lately to play video games. So I've mostly been playing a lot of Pokemon Legends ZA. I've been trying to get a guest on for this week's episode, but there was first off, scheduling was a little bit difficult with some of my guests this weekend. People were busy. There's some technical difficulties across a lot of North America right now, or at least the northern part of the US, and also Canada right now, especially Ontario, where I am. There's big snowstorms, very cold temperatures. There's all kinds of difficulties going on right now. And that does affect the internet as well. Sometimes we forget how good we have it sometimes. So, so I just thought I would record by myself this weekend, just kind of do an easy, low-key episode. There's a lot of news. I thought also, too, it kind of works out that, if I had a guest to talk about this news, and then we also did a segment, we also did all the other stuff, it'd be an over 2-hour podcast. And I'm sure for some people, hey, 2 hours is great. For me, the timing of that doesn't really work out so much for me. I have a lot of stuff to do this weekend, so I still wanted to record something. So it's just me. And also I have a lot of thoughts on this week's news. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on. Lots of big queer games, lots of big queer game news. So we're going to jump into that actually shortly here. But I just want to give you kind of a brief overview of what the headlines are this week. So Life is Strange Reunion, Life is Strange 5 that is, was officially revealed. The Fable reboot was also finally shown off, but just how queer is it going to be? I'm not sure. We're going to talk about that. And if Fable isn't queer enough by some chance, a potentially very sapphic medieval game set in 1300s Italy is coming very, very soon, less than 2 months away. There were more layoffs at Ubisoft, unfortunately. There is a bunch of Mario news. Some of it's queer, yes, and so much more. So, before we jump into all of that, though, True Avatars, I do have a few quick favors to ask of you. If you like this podcast, please leave a comment, rating, or review on your preferred podcast platform. Spotify has ratings and comments, while Apple has reviews. Engagement likes comments, ratings, and reviews. Comments, ratings, and reviews helps to grow the podcast, and a growing podcast needs a happy podcast host who is forever happy and fulfilled that you enjoy listening to her show, which creates an infinite feedback loop of more podcast episodes and more growth and more happiness. So please go leave a comment, rating, and or review. And if you're watching the video version on YouTube, please like this episode, leave a comment, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you're the first to know when a brand new video drops. Also, please follow True Avatars, a queer video game podcast, on social media. Their accounts on Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Facebook, and TikTok at True Avatars. And you can also find the podcast on the official website, trueavatarspodcast.com, no spaces. And all of this is linked down in the show notes too, in case you don't want to listen to me and go, where do I go? You can just check the show notes. There's links there. And remember, this is a weekly queer video game podcast, so check in every week. I'm going to bring you news, interviews, and up-to-date discussions that are relevant to queer gamers. So you have a safe space to check in on the world of gaming from a 2S LGBTQIA+ lens. Okay, so what have I been playing? I've just kind of been dipping my toe into Pokemon Legends ZA. I haven't really had a lot of time. Like I said, I haven't really had a lot of time to game. I just know that there's a lot of stuff coming out, as we're going to talk about later. There's a lot of stuff coming out in March that I really want to play, especially if I play for the podcast. There's a new Coffee Talk game. There's Pokemon Pokopia. There's this 1300s Italy medieval Sapphic game that I'm going to talk about shortly. There's also Life is Strange in March. So there's 4 pretty big games that I want to talk about on the podcast. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play them all. Hopefully I can get someone on who's played at least one of those games and, cover them for the podcast, but it's just a lot. So, basically in my head, I'm okay, what games do I want to finish before I move on to the games that are coming out in March? Well, Coffee Talk, I've played all those games. So, if I'm jumping into Tokyo, it's fine, because I've played Coffee Talk 1 and 2 already. Pokemon Pokopia? No, I don't need to have played or finished Legends ZA for Pokopia, but I do know that they're probably going to reveal the next generation of Pokemon about a week before Pokopia comes out for Pokemon Day. And I would like to have finished at least the main story for Pokemon Legends ZA before seeing that advertisement, just so I can kind of get swept up in the hype, because I don't want to be thinking about the next Pokemon game before I'm still playing a current one, It feels wrong to me. So I want to get it done. It feels like a short game, at least shorter than most Pokemon games, but I guess my big problem is that, it's not as magical as Legends Arceus. It's not as special. I guess my problem is, okay, so I was trying to catch a Delibird in the Ice Wild Zone in Pokemon Legends ZA. For anyone who doesn't know Delibird's like the Santa Pokemon. It's like a bird that carries a sack of gifts. even has a move called, I think, Present, where it like throws a gift at you that either raises or lowers your stats or does damage to you. I can't remember. Delibird is not a Pokemon I use in battle. I'm just trying to catch Delibird to complete the Pokédex, because completing each Wild Zone's Pokédex, catching like whatever, all 8 Pokemon that are in each Wild Zone, which is like little pockets of the city where there are wild Pokemon that you can find. So every time you go near the Delibird in any way, even try to battle it, it just flees. And it doesn't just like run to the other side of the map or anything like that. Like it literally just fades away. Like it stops existing. So it was really hard to catch it. Anytime I try to sneak up on it, it would just see me and run away. So I was like, okay, maybe I can throw a ball at it from far away. Now, Pokemon Legends ZA is a little bit different than Legends Arceus for a lot of reasons, but the biggest thing is that the catching mechanic has been changed. On its surface, it looks the same, but there is no challenge in throwing Pokeballs. It has an auto lock feature, first off, for aiming, which is fine, I guess. But if I throw a Pokeball and I hit the Pokemon from far away, it just goes right through the Pokemon, because the game is not programmed in a way that like Legends Arceus was, where you had like the faster balls that go further, like I forget what they were called, like the Jet Ball, and then they had the Heavy Ball, which was like shorter, but hit closer. You know, you like lobbed it, it didn't go as far, but it made like a much bigger hit when it hit the Pokemon. I'm not sure what the purpose of that ball was. It seems very counterintuitive, but it still had an effect where it couldn't be thrown as far. Maybe the catch rate was better, I'm not sure. But you had to get closer. Whereas this game, anytime I'm trying to like strategically catch a Pokemon like stealthily from like a little bit of a distance, it just doesn't work like that. Catching does not feel the same. It does not feel as buttery smooth in the game too. I guess that's something you'd have to play to know for sure, to fully understand what I'm talking about, but I think that's where the game falls short for me. It does bother me that it's in this tiny cramped city and everything looks the same. It does bother me that the game's day-night cycle is completely like, okay, at nighttime you gotta go do these battles. You don't have to, but like every time there's battles, it like does a whole animation. And it also changes like the map every time you do. Like if you're about to catch a Pokemon and the map, it turns from day to night, it does that animation. When you get back in to from wherever you were in that animation, when you come back, everything is reset. So it's just like, I feel like the day-night cycle could use another 10, 15 minutes in length, because it really feels like I'm rushing through the day, that I'm rushing through the night. Just a little bit longer. I don't know, there's like lots of little things. Like it's not a bad game. It's really good, actually. It's better than Scarlet and Violet, in my opinion. But there's just like little things in it that are just like, I wish this was just a little bit better. Especially since they took that extra year to get that game out. It just feels like, cause like what? It was like early 2022. So let's pretend it was early 2021, cause late 2021. So that was what? 4 years? It was almost 4 years between Legends Arceus and Legends ZA, and it doesn't feel like 4 years of development time went into that. It feels like they kind of took one step forward and 2 steps back, although that's kind of a Game Freak thing. Anyway, I'm enjoying Legends ZA, but I have a really hard time. I have to force myself to play it, and I don't like that. I'm almost wondering if I should cut my losses and either rush through it, or at least stop playing it for now. But I really would like to finish it, because I can't. There's like a part of my brain that's like, well, you're a Pokemon fan, you've got to play the Pokemon game. And I do want to play it. Like, I don't hate it. It's just not as good as I wanted it to be. And it's a little disappointing. And also, I know people are memeing some of the characters. So some people are really into some of the characters. Like, I know the Canary is a popular one. I don't see it. I think she's like a lesser version of Iono. From Scarlet and Violet. I can't get into this game as much. I'm not bouncing off it, but I'm not deep into it either. And the battling, it's fun, but it feels like there's really no strategy. It feels like once your Pokemon is like a decent enough level, there's like, and then again, when you're battling, like the Pokemon are attacking you and not your Pokemon, especially with the alpha Pokemon. And like, yeah, you can take damage, but like there's no consequences for taking damage. It just resets you out to a Pokemon Center. And I'm not talking when your Pokemon take damage, I'm talking when you take damage. And then, like, you fall, there's no fall damage. Like, it just doesn't. I thought Legends Arceus was kind of poorly designed with the whole, like, yeah, you can get attacked by wild Pokemon and die, you can just fall damage and stuff like that. But at least, like, there was punishment. Like, if you got hit, you'd have to go get your items back. This game, it just feels like it's there because it was there in the previous game. It really feels like they're like, well, we're calling it a Legends game, so we have to put some of the same mechanics in. But, like, maybe they should have thought of a whole different gameplay design for this. Also, when are we going to be able to just control the Pokemon? I feel like we're just taking tiny little baby steps towards what Final Fantasy VII did, where you can just, like, control all these characters, switch between them, have an active time battle system. Why can't Pokemon do that, but with the Pokemon on your team? And again, the switching can be throwing out different Pokemon. They don't have to be all in the field at the same time, controlling multiples. But why can't I control Charizard as he walks around? Or in my case, I have a girl, Charizard. Her name is Mango. Like my leopard gecko Mango. But anyway. Yeah, just like really trying to like force myself to play it. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about Celeste because I did say I was playing it, but I'm surprisingly into Celeste. I thought I would bounce off it. I thought I would find it too difficult. And maybe it gets harder. But I just want to say something very small before I talk with Lloyd about it. But I'm enjoying it so far. I'm really enjoying it so far. There's just too much to play. All right. Let's jump into the news. So, Life is Strange Reunion, the 5th game in the Life is Strange series, although it's technically the 6th if you count Before the Storm, which is like a prequel. I'm just gonna take a sip of tea here. So technically it's the 6th game. 7th if you count Captain Spirit of Adventure. I forget what they call that one, but it's like the little side story, prequel-ish story for Life is Strange 2. Anyway, it is the 5th main game. If they were numbering these, this would be called Life is Strange 5, because BTS Before the Storm would probably be called Life is Strange 0. So it was finally revealed in a live stream. It was a pretty thorough live stream. So the thing about this game, though, is that, so if anyone played Double Exposure, you know it takes place entirely at a university called Caledon. Like I said, I didn't really like Double Exposure. I think there were elements of it that were nice, like the queerness. The queer vibes were off the charts. The queer vibes were immaculate, but everything else was just kind of like phoned in, it really felt like, especially towards the end of the game. Like, leading up to the ending was decent. And then the last chapter or so, just everything just like fell off the map. I won't spoil how, but playing this new game, there will be spoilers for the previous game. So basically for this reunion game, they're reusing all the assets from the previous game. It's at Caledon again. A lot of the locations are the same. It seems like there's some new locations with the town surrounding the university, as far as I can tell. But it is like very much not a new setting. It's not like it's Arcadia Bay. It's not some new location. It's this Caledon again. And I mean, it makes some sense story-wise for Max, but it's a little boring of a choice, if I'm being honest. I'm not as high on this game as I want it to be. I'm still going to play it because I have to know, but something that some people are happy about, something that people are sad about, is that Chloe is back. And in addition to being happy and mixed feelings about this, Chloe's original voice actor, excuse me, sorry. Chloe's original voice actor is not returning. I'm sorry to leave you hanging there, for anyone who hadn't heard the news. However, and I didn't actually write down Chloe's, Chloe voice actor name. So Ashley Birch was the original, voice actress, and it looks like the new voice actor is, Rihanna DeVries. DeVries? I'm not actually sure how you pronounce that, so forgive me, but, Rihanna DeVries is the new voice actor, and they have they/them pronouns, actually, which is pretty cool. So it was kind of weird, though, seeing Max's OG voice actor next to Chloe's new voice actor, and they had this big thing in the live stream, like literally with them both. They were both hosting the live stream, and they were together, and it's just a bit jarring because they were kind of acting like they were buddy-buddy, but they've never really been in a game together in that way. So it was just like a little disappointing. That the original voice actor's not back, and a little strange how they were acting, but I mean, and again, that's not really a pun, but, that isn't to say I don't like Chloe's new voice actor. I think they're great. Just, it would have been nice for the game is called Reunion. You think there might be some fourth wall breaking with a proper reunion. Anyway, I do wish Rihanna all the best of luck. I'm excited to play the game, and I guess the part for me isn't that the old voice actor isn't returning, it's that they had Max's old voice actor, Max's classic voice actor next to Chloe's new voice actor together. And they didn't really address the elephant in the room. They were kind of talking with each other as if they had both done the original Life is Strange game together, when I don't think they've ever actually shared a game before like that, with Max and her Max and her Chloe. Alright, so what else in this live stream was kind of notable? I assume it's going to be like double exposure where you get to kind of choose at the beginning of the game. Did you choose Bay or Bay? So, BAE or BAY ending of Life is Strange 1. Did you save Chloe or did you save Arcadia Bay? The game, Chloe in this game will be different depending on which choice you made in the original Life is Strange. Chloe's memories in this game. The premise is that Chloe shows up and Chloe has memories from both timelines, things that shouldn't have happened. So if you chose the Bay ending, Chloe will have memories of Arcadia Bay surviving, I think. And then if you chose saving Arcadia Bay, Chloe really shouldn't be alive, basically, and has memories of dying and stuff like that. So assume that's going to be addressed in the story and probably, go to crap for the characters. But in the scene that they showed in the cutscene they showed from the live stream, Max was just happy to have Chloe back. So every Life is Strange game is known for having powers. Your main character has powers. In the double exposure, Max could jump into Polaroids and go back to a certain point in time in that Polaroid. In this game, I think the Polaroid is also back, but the big thing is that rewind from the very first Life is Strange game is Max's main power. So that's back in this game. And that's, I think, the most exciting part for me is that gameplay mechanic of being able to undo any action. I really like that. I wish more games had that, but I realize it's built in for a story reason. They went on for a while about how the rewind feature works and explaining all that. The nice thing that's new about this version of Rewind, though, is that Max can now hold an object and bring it back with her to help solve puzzles, which I think is really cool. It's really helpful. But Max isn't the only playable character. Chloe is also playable, and her backtalk, power, so to speak, is her ability in the game as well. And that comes back from Before the Storm. So they're basically going back to OG Max and OG Chloe powers, which is really, really cool, especially since, if you believe rumors, this is the last Life is Strange game. Deck 9 is wrapping it up after this, and I doubt Square Enix goes back to Don't Nod for future games. So maybe if there's a new Life is Strange game, it'll be from new developers. I don't know. Maybe there won't be another one for a long time. I don't know. Of course, they're making a TV show. Maybe that revives interest in the franchise. I almost said resuscitates, but that's really not accurate. I don't think the franchise is that much on life support. If you pre-order the game, you can get a pre-order bonus with Max and Chloe's classic outfits from the first game, which is super cool. I did pre-order it. I'm excited to play this, even though I think a lot of the writing in the cutscenes I saw was a little cringy. And I think there's a level of cringe to the Life is Strange series that's kind of built into it, that's kind of intentional, and it has its own charm to it, but I think they're just a little bit hammy on this one. Just a little bit look, this is everything you wanted. This is all the fan service, right? So I'm a little worried about this, especially after Double Exposure's level of quality. But again, I think Deck 9's Before the Storm and True Colors are really strong games in the series. I like them almost as much as I like the first Life is Strange. Well, I mean, I like Before the Storm a little bit better than OG Life is Strange. That's just my preference. Doesn't mean I think it's better. It's just my personal favorite, but I just don't know how Double Exposure fell off so hard. So I hope Reunion is a return to form, but based on the live stream, the story maybe not, but the gameplay hopefully. The premise is that Max is trying to prevent someone from setting fire to the university at the end of the weekend, I think. So it's Monday morning, the university's burned down. She goes back in time to Friday. Chloe is there, and they both have to work together to figure out who's going to burn down the university and stop it from happening. I have to assume that the one of the characters from Double Exposure is part of the story as well. And if they're doing what they implied at the end of Double Exposure, which again, I won't spoil too much here, but we might see other Life is Strange characters from other games show up, which would be really, really cool if they did that. I don't know if they're going to do that. Again, it was kind of implied, but not really explicitly stated at the end of the previous one. Just that characters are aware that there are other characters out there with powers. So it'd be really cool to see, is that Alex from True Colors show up? That'd be pretty cool. But again, I don't know for sure what they're going to do. Okay, so it does come out for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on March 26th. When it leaked, it said March 27th, but it's actually going to be coming one day earlier than that. I assume if you're pre-ordering and you're getting the digital copy, it might even be live on March 25th, that evening, 9 p.m., midnight kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm really excited for this, even though I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm still really excited to play this. What I like about these games is that they're pretty quick to play. You can finish them in a weekend. So hopefully I can play most, if not all of it, in time for the episode that releases after it comes out. And if I don't finish it, at least then I can't spoil it, right? So, I didn't pre-order any of the special editions or what have you. I think there's a physical collector's edition at the Square Enix store. I know there's a digital deluxe edition. I never pre-ordered that stuff. I just pre-ordered the base game because I had a little bit of credit on my PlayStation account still too, so that worked out. All right, just gonna take a sip of water. All right, so they finally showed off Fable. This game has been in development for a very long time, and they said so. Excuse me. They said so in the live stream at the Xbox Developer Direct. Previous Fable games do feature gay marriage, and gay relationships. So I'm hopeful that this game will have it. They didn't really explicitly say that, although I think they said you can marry anyone in the town, but that doesn't imply that. Or did they say you can marry everyone? I can't remember, but I have a feeling there's going to be gay marriage. They're probably just not going to market it to avoid an uproar. And we're going to get into why maybe people don't market that kind of stuff anymore, because there's like a whole thing on Twitter and Blue Sky right now with another game, 2 games actually, but anyway. So Fable looks really visually beautiful. For anyone who doesn't know, Fable is this like fairy tale-esque game. For me, the whole draw is that you can kind of be good or evil in these games, and like your choices in this open world kind of affect the story and the way people react to you in the world. So in this game, you start as a child. You get these hero powers, which is basically your ability to use magic, and you're the first hero in, I think, generations to show up. Like, you're the first kid to get magical powers in a long time in this world of Albion. And then in that opening bit, everyone in your village is turned to stone. And so it sounds like that's kind of the quest you're out to solve, is find out who did this and undo it and stuff like that. Like I said, it is open world. I don't think the previous Fable games were open world, but this one is. There's character customization. I was a little disappointed to see that it's not full-blown customization. I think you're just choosing heads and body types and mixing and matching instead of like going into like a full-on like cyberpunk level character creator. But you can choose from a man or a woman. I don't know if there's a non-binary option. Like, can you choose a male head and a female body? That might be the way it works. I literally don't know. I hope it's more queer than that. But again, I don't think they're going to market that stuff if it's in there. There's lots of returning enemies. There's also this new giant fire-breathing chicken, which was absolutely horrifying, and I loved it. Like I said, there is dating sim elements. Like, you can romance pretty much any character in Albion. Apparently there's 1,000 NPCs, and you can like follow any one of them throughout the day and see what their routine is like. I think you can marry multiple people if you want, so there's polyamory to some extent. You can have kids with the people in Albion. Like I said, I hope you can also, if you're playing as a man, you can marry men. If you're playing as a woman, you can marry women. Don't know, or remains to be seen. You can be a landlord. That's fun. I forgot this about the original Fable games, is that you can buy up properties and evict people, and I think that's kind of weird. I guess if you want to live out that fantasy, better to do it in a virtual setting than in a real life setting. That would be, great, but there was one scene where you're interacting with an NPC, and NPCs remember everything that you do. So you go up to this NPC that you've already evicted, and it explains in a little tab. It's like, Oliver dislikes you because you evicted him, which I think is really funny, the way they wrote that out. So we're talking about morality, right? We're talking about doing good things, doing evil things. You can evict people, you can buy up properties, you can be nice to people. The devs say, our game will never judge you, but the people of Albion will. They kind of went on this tiny little tangent spiel about, there's no such thing as objective evil. It sounded like they were kind of tiptoeing around the fact that, like, some people are Nazis in this world, and it's okay, actually, because we don't want to offend them. We don't want to offend the Nazis, which didn't sit right with me. And it doesn't sit right with me even more so because there's no objective evil in the game. People just react to you. I'm sure they're finding ways around that, but there's no body transformation. Like, you don't grow horns or look evil if you do evil choices, which was like the whole thing that drew me to Fable in the first place, was the fact that, like, you physically become evil looking and grow horns and transform as you do evil things. And if you're good, that stuff doesn't happen to you. And so I'm really sad that stuff is gone. Again, and that's half the reason I wanted to play, was for the horns and stuff. And the other half was because of gay, which isn't confirmed. So cautiously optimistic this game will still be fun, although half of the reason I wanted to play is not in it. And I was a little disappointed that they said there's no such thing as objective evil, because I think that's a really weird expression, because like there are objectively evil things. Killing people is bad, hurting people is bad. Making people's lives more difficult is bad. Especially if it's for the sake of just making them more difficult. So, a little spineless, I think. A little spineless. I'm gonna just, these devs are, I don't know who's making these choices. I wouldn't be so openly critical of like smaller devs. I'd be like, okay, let's have a dialogue, but I think that's a little spineless to say there's no such thing as objective evil. And I'm paraphrasing the way they said it, but they basically said like, they're basically throwing all the judgment onto the characters instead of the gameplay mechanics, as if they're saying like, well, we don't want to take a stance on Nazis, but the characters in the game will. Okay. It's really weird. Anyway. They did spell out a ton of features for this game, and if it's anything like the original Fable games, half of these features won't be in the game anyway, so who knows, right? But they did say, which is something nice, is that this game is for fans of the classic series and for newcomers. It's coming to PS5, day one, Xbox Series. I don't know if it's coming to Xbox One or not. I doubt it, but it's coming to Xbox and PC, autumn 2026, and that does include day one on Game Pass for the higher tiers. So. But if this medieval fantasy-ish medieval is not gay enough for you, there's some realistic medieval storytelling happening in this next game, which just got, I think it was already kind of announced, but I didn't hear about it until now. It's called 1348 Ex Voto. Basically, you play as this character called Eta. I think that's how you pronounce her name. She's a butch-looking woman, and she is a knight in 1300s Italy. And she is tasked with getting her loved one, her close one, they call her, back. Her close one is called Bianca, voiced by Jennifer English. And basically, she's rescuing the princess kind of deal, like a damsel in distress. And again, they're calling it close one. So a lot of people are reading into this to believe that, they're actually lovers, they're partners, and, you're setting off to get your girlfriend or your wife back. So, sounds very sapphic. I really hope it is sapphic and it's not just like, well, they're just close friends or whatever, or they were roommates, whatever BS they might want to do. But I do think this game is fruity because, there was another game, and I can't remember the name of it, and to be honest, I don't want to promote it anyway, but there was another game that was like also kind of like medieval fantasy that was like talked about this week. And on Twitter, someone asked, is there gonna be any LGBTQ representation in the game? And so the devs basically said, no, we're not here to promote any kind of modern agenda. So what was kind of funny was that when 1348 was tweeting this week, they said, don't forget to wishlist and note the release date on your modern agenda with a heart. So they're kind of tongue in cheek on this. So I do think there's going to be sapphic vibes in this. And first off, Jennifer English is in it. So the game is by default queer, by default. And also one of the producers is also queer. So I do think there's going to be sapphic vibes in this. If not explicitly stated, it'll be very, very, very heavily implicit, if not explicitly stated, right? So, it's coming to PS5 and PC on March 12th. There was going to be an Xbox version, and I did find a page for it actually when I was searching up this game, but apparently it was canceled. So just PS5 and PC. And it's, I think it's going to be 25 euros. I don't know if they announced the US price, but if it is, I think it's going to be around 25 US dollars, which is about $40 Canadian. So it will be a relatively low price game. And in terms of gameplay, like it's like sword fighting combat gameplay, right? You have two stances, you have one hand and two hand, dual wielding swords. Watching the combat in the trailer, the vibes I was getting was Italian Yote. So if you've played Ghost of Yote or seen any of the combat from that, the combat gameplay looked very similar to Ghost of Yote in a good way. Like, I don't mean that to be its derivative. I mean, like, that's the vibe I was getting. And that game had really, really good sword combat. So really, really excited for this game too. And that comes out March 12th. So as we can see, March is stacking up a lot. So like I said, there's Coffee Talk Tokyo, there's Pokemon Pokopia, there is 1348 Ex Voto, and those are all within like the first week of games. That's like the first 2 weeks of March, right? Because March 5th is Coffee Talk, March 5th is Pocopia, and then March 12th is Ex Voto, 1348 Ex Voto. That's like literally 1 week. It's an entire, just 1 week of games. That's like way too much games. Yeah. So it'll be fun for the podcast, but I'm going to do my best to cover as much of that as I can. If not outright, we'll be talking about those games on the podcast for sure all year, because they sound like they're going to be very exciting games. And then, of course, like I said, Life is Strange Reunion comes out on March 26th. So 2 weeks after that, I think. Yeah, that's 2 weeks after that. So busy month for queer games. March is gay month. And then 2 weeks before that even is Scarlet Hollow's 5th chapter is coming out as well. So if you're into the early access on that, it's just a busy pre-spring winter, like just like a late winter release schedule. I'm here for it. I'm just also really busy with life and stuff. So it's just kind of like, there's a lot to play. There's a lot to do, but I'm excited. This is good. I'm glad there's still lots of queer content coming out, or queer adjacent content coming out. It's reassuring, because there could just easily be nothing coming out. But we are talking about, bad news, right? We also have some bad news on the podcast. That was a terrible segue. I deeply apologize for that. But Ubisoft has canceled 6 projects as of this week, and they delayed 7 as well. I'm not going to talk about that so much because I'm really more interested in the layoff aspect of this, but they're laying off more in what they're calling a quote-unquote major company restructure, and this comes from IGN. So 6 projects were canceled. I did mention that. That includes the Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake, which is apparently, if you believe rumors, 99% done, maybe? Pretty close. It was supposed to release this month, so another last minute. I think the first incarnation of the Sands of Time remake was also canceled very last minute. 3 new IPs were also canceled, a mobile game and some unknown 6th game. They didn't say what it was. 2 studios were closed, so Ubisoft Stockholm. LinkedIn estimates 51 to 200 employees, but again, that's a ballpark. I don't know how accurate that is. Ubisoft Halifax, which is the unionized studio we reported on last week, is laid off 71 people. And there is restructuring at 3 other studios, one of which is Massive Entertainment, which we also discussed last week. It's unconfirmed how many people are being laid off in total. I think there were 55 jobs at risk at Massive Entertainment, but we still don't know how many specifically got laid off. In terms of the restructure from the article, Ubisoft finally lays out how its global development might be split into 5 creative houses that will operate as independent business units, the first of which was detailed last year. The previously established Vantage Studios now encompasses the development of Ubisoft's 3 biggest brands, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six, and soon the remaining divisions will take on the themed groups that cover the company's remaining franchises. Creative House 2 will be dedicated to shooters and look after The Division, Ghost Recon, and Splinter Cell. Creative House 3 will focus on live experiences, including For Honor, The Crew, Riders Republic, Brawlhalla, and Skull and Bones. They're still supporting Skull and Bones. Creative House 4 will feature narrative-driven and fantasy-oriented series, including Anno, Might and Magic, Rayman, Prince of Persia, and Beyond Good and Evil. Yes, seemingly Beyond Good and Evil 2 still lives. That's literally written in the article. Finally, Creative House 5 will center on family and casual gaming, including Just Dance, Uno, Hasbro, Idle Miner Tycoon, Ketchup, never heard of that, Hungry Shark, and Invincible Guarding the Globe. Half of these I've never even heard of, if I'm being honest. Yeah, that's pretty much the end quote there. This is disappointing. I have a feeling Ubisoft isn't doing that well, and we might even see a lot of these get kind of reduced even further. I'm surprised of all these games getting canceled and games like spending money and why is Beyond Good and Evil 2 still in production? I'm not saying I don't want to see it happen, and I really hope it gets to come to fruition, but if we're talking about games that are still in constant development, needing to be canceled to save money and cut your losses, Beyond Good and Evil 2, it's been in development for is it 20 years? 18 years? 17? It's been a long time. So why not cancel that instead of already complete games? I don't understand. I don't understand. Again, I hope Beyond Good and Evil 2 comes out eventually. I'm sure it'll be amazing, but why? Anyway. Also, obviously, and I think this goes without saying, it just feels like a little mind-numbing because I feel like I talk about this every week, but I really do hope these people that are being laid off find somewhere better to go be employed. I've seen some people joking that Ubisoft employees always spin off into pretty good AA indie studios. I think Expedition 33's team was also ex-Ubisoft, so hopefully we do see some of these employees, or not of some of these employees, all of these employees land on their feet somewhere, making amazing games where they are appreciated and valued and paid fairly for their work. If anything, paid really well for their work. So, speaking of delays, the PS6 might be getting delayed, even though it hasn't actually been officially announced or confirmed or, said that's given a release date, but this comes from Reddit. So that's how I found all of this. But the Reddit kind of compiled the source with the machine translation. So that's the source I'm using. But this comes from Reddit, translated from a Japanese source called Sandstone Insights, which is the Japanese arm of an investment analysis firm. And they are predicting that the PS5's life cycle will be extended and the PS6 will be, quote, delayed longer than many expected. So right now, everything that I've read on the talked about on the podcast and read for the podcast is that many are expecting the PS6 in 2027, which would make a lot of sense. Like every 6-7 years there's a new console generation anyway. So we do know that, so let's say 2027, right? So it's probably coming later than 2027, 2028, 2029. I have thoughts on this, which we're going to get to in a second. But we also know that AI data centers are hogging all the RAM, right? They're buying up all the RAM, causing a shortage and a price spike for existing RAM availability on the market, making potential future consoles very expensive going forward, meaning that PS6 risks launching at a higher price point than even PS5 Pro. And would people even pay that for a new console? Would be worth it, especially when the PS4 is still getting support. A lot of people still playing their PS4, a lot of people still playing their PS5. It feels like the PS5 generation has barely started. Personally, I think that the PS6 should launch in 2030. Give devs a little bit more time to get used to the PS5, develop good games for the PS5, get some of those like years long games out for the PS5. Also, I don't think games need to look better, be bigger, be longer, be more over designed than they already are. Like, just like whatever scope you're making for PS5, maybe just stick with that. We don't have to grow like on a the graph doesn't have to look like a slope, right? It can just be, games can now just kind of like be a flat line in terms of like scale and scope and budget, right? We don't need to keep expanding and ballooning all this stuff. Just keep making good games and optimizing them for the consoles that we have. I don't think games need to look better, I think games already look really, really good. That's not even, not discounting the fact that some games can be stylized and look like, like Nintendo games where you can't really tell that they're lower resolution because they just look so pretty with their art styles. But I'm just talking stuff like Ghost of Yotei. Like, if Ghost of Yotei took 5-6 years to make, games could take 5-6 years to make. That's already too long. But let's say games are going to have to take that forever now. If games looked as good as Ghost of Yotei from now until the end of time, I'd be fine with that. Okay? And that means we wouldn't technically have to have a PS6 for another decade. Really. I think 2031 or 2032 is even better, but I think 2030 is where they should be aiming for, if there's going to be a delay. Especially since by then, the next Nintendo console will be kind of, starting to people will be thinking about that for 2032 or 2033. So the next console generation can launch around then. And plus, there's probably not going to really be, with all the RAM prices being an issue and the way Xbox is going third party, do we really need another Xbox? I want another Xbox. I wish Xbox was still competing, but if they're not making exclusives, why is there another console that's overpriced and not nearly as popular, and also doesn't have Nintendo or PlayStation exclusives on it? So what's the point? I can just play my PS5. That's where I'm going to play Fable when I play it. It's on my PS5. I have an Xbox Series S, but why would I play my games there when my PS5 runs better? And yes, I could have bought a Series X and played Fable there, but what do we call it? The walled garden, the ecosystem, that's the word I'm looking for. The ecosystem that I'm in right now with PS5 is I know that there's a good chance my PS5 games are going to run on PS6. And if not, my PS5 plays my PS4 games. I know I'm going to have my PS5 for a long time, or at least my PS5 library somewhere for a long time. So it makes more sense to buy Fable on my PS5, an Xbox exclusive there, than it does to get that on my Series S, or an X if you have a Series X, that is not going to be supported for much longer. especially when there's a new console, even if it's backwards compatible. I feel like if there is another Xbox console, it will be the last one. The writing's on the wall, and I feel like Xbox is going the way of Sega and becoming a third-party developer. How you feel about that is how you feel about that. That's completely fine. But if that's the way things are going, I just don't see a reason to buy Fable on an ecosystem that is going to be forgotten about in the next few years. So, PlayStation for Microsoft stuff, PlayStation for PlayStation stuff, and then you've got your Nintendo handheld for all the indie stuff and all the Nintendo stuff. There you go. You've got your two consoles. That's all you need. And obviously if you're a PC gamer, you're a PC gamer, and that's fine. But, anyway. Sony, just please, delay the PS6. Please. Even if the RAM shortage wasn't a thing, they should still delay it. But I almost see this as a blessing in disguise, although the RAM shortage I don't think is going to get much better for a long time, unless this AI bubble really does burst, which remains to be seen. Everything we're reading about it means like people are really trying to force people to adopt it, but people aren't. But if people are spending so much money on all of it, anyway, if it's going to burst, when is it going to burst, you know? And if it bursts, are things going to go back to normal, or have we opened Pandora's box too? That's a whole other thing. So like, our price is going to come back down again? Because graphic cards kind of came back down a little bit, but not really after the whole, Bitcoin mining, fiasco from about, 5-6 years ago as well. So, you know, if RAM prices are forever going to be expensive and the cost of living just keeps going up and console prices just keep going up, if we're in a cost of living crisis for even longer than we are now, like in 2030, if we're still in this cost of living crisis, people will have tightened their belts even more. Are people going to want to spend $1,100 Canadian dollars on a new console, $700-800 USD on like a PS6? I don't know. And especially at that point too, the PS6 will probably, if it has a disk drive at all, it'll probably be separate. So you're paying for a disk drive on top of the console itself, right? Not to say that everyone's going to do that, but if you've got a disk library and it's backwards compatible, like I do, hopefully it's a backwards compatible console, but like, that's just a lot of money to spend on a brand new console. And like, yeah, maybe it'll be the first new console in a long time, and maybe people will be justified in it, but is it going to have the game library to back it up? Because the PS5 certainly doesn't have many games. Like, yeah, it's got some really good ones when they come out, but like, for the most part, like, I could count on one hand the amount of games that's worth buying a PS5 for, where these games aren't available somewhere else, or aren't going to be available somewhere else at some point in the near future. Horizon Forbidden West, I think, is on PC, right? Let me check that. Yeah, the complete edition is on Steam. Spider-Man 2, I think, is on Steam too, right? Yep, Spider-Man 2 is on Steam. Is Ratchet & Clank on Steam? Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is on PC, which is the portal jumping Ratchet & Clank game that was like the big tech showcase. Yeah, Astro Bot is on PS5. Ghost of Yotei is on PS5. Those are exclusive. Ghost of Yotei will probably eventually come to PC. I don't see Astro Bot coming to PC. That's whole gimmick is that it's like the DualSense and you know, it's all this PlayStation iconography in it. So I don't think that's going to come, but, like all the Last of Us, remasters and remakes, those are on PC. And I'm not discounting the fact that like third party is a bad thing or like is a good thing or whatever. Like, 'cause I think having games accessible as many places as possible is a good thing, but like Naughty Dog hasn't released a new game since Last of Us Part 2. And it's looking like their next game won't be coming till 2027 at the earliest. That's 7 years for a new game. We don't know when the next, like Wolverine took many years to come out. Wolverine comes out this year. I bet Wolverine goes to PC eventually too. So like, unless you're playing these PS5 games day one, and you want a couple of the exclusives like Astro Bot, like what is there really? Even the Final Fantasy games are coming to PC and Nintendo Switch and everything else now too. So like Final Fantasy 7 and I think did 16 come to Xbox? I can't remember about that. I'm not even gonna bother to check that one because like, yeah. But just like, why buy a PS6 if the PS5 isn't selling on its promise? And it feels like, we're not even halfway through the console generation for PS5 with the amount of games that have come out. Yeah. Anyway, I've been on the soapbox a lot, so I'm gonna drop that soapbox for now. that's all the bad news. We're moving back to good news, actually. Well, I mean, it depends how you look at that. Maybe the PS6 getting delayed is good news. For me, it's good news. Maybe for you, it's bad news. Anyway, Warframe is coming to Nintendo Switch 2 Q1 2026. So that's pretty soon, before the end of March. We kind of already knew it was going to be early this year, but they have now confirmed that it will be Q1 2026 for sure. It's going to run, they've also confirmed that it's going to run 1080p at 60 FPS in docked and handheld modes on Nintendo Switch 2, which is nice. Obviously the 1080p is lower resolution on a TV, but the fact that they've got a nice 60 FPS going there with that promise, hopefully it's a locked 60, or consistent enough at least. And also they announced that Warframe, they might have already announced this, but I saw that Warframe is coming to Android on February 18th, which is pretty soon. Less than a month away. Alright, let's talk about this Mario news. I said there was a bunch of Mario news. So first off, Mario Kart World has an update. It's free, don't worry, there's no paid DLC yet. There's a new mode, it's Team-Based Knockout Tour. Reading from the article, join up with your Nintendo Switch 2 friends in a group via local wireless or online play. With the free update, you can now set up Knockout Tour races as a 2-team, 12 vs 12 race, a 3-team, 8 vs 8 vs 8 race, or a 4-team, 6 vs 6 vs 6 vs 6 race. If there are not enough players, CPU drivers will fill the remaining spots. This is awesome. Playing Team Knockout Tour would be great. I'm not sure how it works. If you get eliminated, like, do you just winning for your team if you're the last one representing your team? I haven't gotten to try the new mode out yet, admittedly. Hopefully get to try it out next couple of days. But this is great. Team modes and Knockout Tour. Knockout Tour is the only new thing in Mario Kart World that is worth playing Mario Kart World for. Yeah, it's a great game, beautiful graphics, but the open world, it's pointless. Literally, there's no reason for it. Aside from obviously like the Knockout Tour and the way you can drive from track to track instead of like going to a loading screen and waiting for the next track to load. That's cool about it. But like exploring the open world, it's not really a feature. It's more like, feels like an afterthought. But Knockout Tour is a lot of fun. Elimination races, something Mario Kart desperately needed for a long time, and playing with your friends is awesome. If you haven't played Mario Kart World yet, and you're planning to, or you want to, Knockout Tour, that's the reason to buy it. But definitely either wait for a sale whenever that day comes, or get it in the bundle cheaper if they're still selling any of the bundles left. Because I don't think it's worth the 80 USD or, what is that, 110 Canadian plus tax, which comes to like $130 if you want the game on its own. That's ridiculous. That's way too much for any video game. Laughs in GTA 6. Anyway, GTA 6 might cost a lot of money too, for anyone who has no context on that. Some more news. Mario Wonder Switch 2 Edition with Bell Bell Park DLC. I'm not even going to read the full title for that game. I think it's like something like Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Meetup in Bell Bell Park. I think that's the whole name. It's really long. But it's coming out March 26th. So the Switch 2 enhancements, the Switch 2 DLC. Exclusive to the Switch 2 version, I believe, is coming March 26th. Again, another kind of, technically this is also a queer game, because it has Yoshi in it. Won't be playing this one. 2D Mario is not my jam, but it's also a DLC with multiplayer stuff. It's literally just multiplayer content. So there's multiplayer with 4 people. There's new mini games. You can do game share as well, too. So, you can share the game with 3 friends. So only one of you has to buy the game, which is pretty cool. They are adding Rosalina. Luma is also added as a star pointer for player 2, like the original Mario Galaxy games. You can control Luma. And she, actually, I said she. Luma has they, them pronouns. They literally addressed Luma as they, them in the trailer, which is really cool. So Lumas are non-binary, confirmed, or at least Rosalina and Luma's Luma is non-binary. Has they, them pronouns at the very least, and you can control them to collect coins and other items along the way in your gameplay. Basically a kid-friendly mode. And then Toad has new training courses to help you rank up and win something. They didn't explain what. And I think they added Koopalings to levels as well as like little mini bosses or challenges. That might be single player content. I'm not sure. The trailer wasn't super clear, and I'm not a big fan of 2D Mario. So, but I did try to figure out what they were trying to say. I wasn't 100% sure. And so a few hours before the stream before I started recording this podcast, they streamed the Super Mario Galaxy Movie Direct, and they revealed that they were going to be, well, first off, they revealed the release date is now April 1st, so 2 days earlier than the original release date. So now it's opening Wednesday, April 1st. And instead of showing off all the space stuff with Rosalina, they actually showed off Yoshi is a new character. And as we know, Yoshi is transmasc representation as a boy who lays eggs. And Birdo, who's canonically trans femme, is also in the movie. And so Yoshi was seen hanging out with Mario and Luigi on their adventure. And at one point we do see Yoshi holding a Nintendo Super Scope as a weapon and protecting Toad, who is holding baby Mario and baby Luigi. So at some point in the movie, the Mario brothers are going to get babified, I guess, if that's even the word for it. And there is one scene where, in the trailer where Birdo is shooting eggs at Princess Peach, and she pulls out her classic umbrella to kind of like stop the eggs from coming at her. So I'm really excited to see this. Really cool that there is actual trans masc and trans femme representation. And, there's some debate about this in the Discord. And I'm going to read specifically what Amy Lynn wrote out here. Amy Lynn is one of our many regulars of True Avatars, for anyone who doesn't know. Okay. Let's see here. So, she says it's the first trans, all-ages animation theatrical representation, at least in North America. Now, there is some debate about whether or not Gwen Stacy in the second Spider-Verse movie is canonically trans. I personally think she is, but I guess that's a headcanon, but there's so much trans coding and trans colors going on in all her stuff. I think she's supposed to be transgender. They just didn't explicitly say it because, again, why tell you things when they can hide it for other markets? But since it's not confirmed, technically, Birdo is technically the first, and Yoshi as well. Yoshi and Birdo are the first trans theatrical representation. But since Birdo is canonically trans and Yoshi is just a headcanon for us, Birdo is technically the first transgender, all ages animation theatrical representation. Which is a mouthful, but to say that she's the first animated trans character on the big screen for kids. I keep adding like, but this and this and this to it. But yeah, it's kind of exciting. Again, if you count Gwen Stacy, then obviously this is the second. But either way, representation is representation, Mr. Incredible Voice. So, all right. All right, just taking a sip of tea there. One more piece of news. This is pretty quick. Pokemon is finally coming to Universal Studios. Not the studio, but like the theme park. It's starting in Japan. This tweet is machine translated. The birth of new Pokemon experience, global deployment project launched. Based on a hyper-realistic experience that stimulates all 5 senses, it brings the Pokemon world to life in an unprecedentedly interactive and rich way. Currently preparing for its world premiere at Universal Studios Japan. So, it's coming to Universal Studios Japan first. They're going to add a Pokemon section to Universal Studios theme park. And it sounds like, because it's global deployment project launched, is how they open the tweet. It sounds like it'll be coming to the other theme parks as well. There's one in Orlando and one in Los Angeles, or at least Southern California. I'm not sure if it's Los Angeles proper, but I've been there. It's fun. It's a great theme park. But my question is, Pokemon is such a huge brand. It's like it's up there with Mario. Like, in terms of popularity in Nintendo's franchise, I think Mario is a little bit more popular than Pokemon in sales too, for video game sales. But for merch, Pokemon is like the highest grossing media franchise of all time. So why Pokemon wasn't there from the start as part of Nintendo World is shocking to me. However, I think it's even weirder that, first off, the DK was there first, before Pokemon, but also, where is Zelda? Obviously, there's some rumors about Zelda, maybe coming to it, but like I just think like they should have launched with the big 3, Mario, Pokemon, and Zelda in these theme parks, because that would have been the big draw. Anyway, really excited that they're finally adding Pokemon. I don't know how many years it'll be before they actually get it done. Probably 4 or 5 years. These theme parks take a while, but I'm gonna be there day one because Pokemon theme park, it's exactly what I want. So. That's what I've always wanted. I think they did a Pokemon theme park, I want to say in the mid-2000s. It was like a traveling theme park. Like it would spend a year in each country before it, and it was only Asian countries. It never came to the West. So I never got to go as a kid, unfortunately, but it sounds like this one will be static and stationary and in one place. And it sounds like, on bringing the Pokemon world to life in an unprecedentedly interactive and rich way. Hopefully what they're doing is like making it feel like Pokemon are kind of real in whatever way they decide to carry it out. So really excited for that. And that does pretty much wrap up the podcast news for this week. So yeah, I don't really know how to sign this off because I have a pre-recorded sign off, but that's all the news. Again, please do leave a comment, though. I want to hear what all your thoughts are on all this news, because it's really exciting. Are you going to be playing any of these queer games? Pokemon Coffee Talk, Coffee Talk Tokyo, 1348 Ex Voto, Life is Strange Reunion, Fable. And also I mentioned Scarlet Hollow Chapter 5. Are you going to be playing any of these games? Because they all come out very soon. Fable's in the fall, but everything else is like in the next less than 2 months away, which is really exciting that all these games are coming out really soon. We're just like really hitting the ground running in terms of queer content for video games, so really exciting. I want to play all of them. I don't have time, but I'm going to try, because I love that. Alright, have a good one. And that just about wraps up this week's show. Thanks, True Avatars, for joining me for another episode of your Queer Video Game Podcast. By listening to the show, you are supporting queer-made content, which is more important than ever. If you want to support True Avatars, it would be really great if you could leave a comment, rating, or review on your preferred podcast platform. You can follow the show on Blue Sky, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube under the handle @TrueAvatars, all one word, and on Facebook and Instagram under True Avatars. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe, as well as hit the notification bell so you can be the first to know when new content drops. I welcome you to check out the official website, trueavatarspodcast.com. That's all one word, trueavatarspodcast.com. On the website, you can sign up for the newsletter, where you can get exclusive news and updates on the show. Bye, True Avatars. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to speaking with you all again next week. Take care and stay safe.